We did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men actually voting more for him, and you have and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
They have nothing else to talk about. Maybe you should get the lawyer that worked on that Covington Catholic school case. What was that, a $200 million settlement? I think, Charlie, you could use the money, and your students definitely could too.
Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach.
So, Charlie, do you accept the View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo-Nazis. But look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology?
The point I'll say is this, is Sonny, do you guys thought that abortion was going to be this like quasi-zealot religious issue? I'm pro-life. If people in the audience aren't, that's fine. What I'm saying though, what gives me promise, and I think we can all agree on this, is that there are other issues that should animate and drive our politics other than this very divisive one. And I was really encouraged by that, Megan. Very encouraged, because the media was forcing this as an up or down vote on a referendum on a highly complicated, very emotional, very personal issue. And it turned out the American people were like, yeah, actually, these other 6 things matter more.
We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it.
It all blew up the moment The View thought they could take a cheap shot at Turning Point USA. They didn't just go after the organization, they dragged over 5,000 young students into the mess. Teenagers, college kids, high schoolers who paid their own way flew across the country just to be part of something bigger, publicly mocked on national TV. But they didn't expect Charlie Kirk to come in swinging. The second he saw what was said, he snapped. No soft PR, no, let's talk it out. He went scorched earth. This isn't over. I'm filing a lawsuit. And the moment he said it, boom, Sunny Hostin disappeared from the show, gone, vanished. No segment, no sign. In pure panic mode, The View rushed out a half-baked apology. But Charlie wasn't buying it. He fired back, "Keep your fake sorry, I'll see you in court." And just like that, a daytime talk show went from smug to silent, while the internet erupted with one question. Where's Sunny? This wasn't just a backlash. It was a total media takedown.
Charlie Kirk took issue with this depiction of his organization. Kirk maintains that Turning Point USA is not affiliated with anti-Semitism or white supremacist.
And then came the spark that blew everything sky high. Live on air, The View recklessly hinted that students at the Turning Point USA event might have ties to neo-Nazi groups. That wasn't a slip. That was a media time bomb. Charlie Kirk wasn't just angry, he was seething. This wasn't about him getting dragged. It was about thousands of young people, most barely out of high school, being branded with a lie on national television. He made it crystal clear. These kids now carry a scar they didn't earn, all because someone at ABC ran their mouth without facts. And he wasn't demanding justice for himself. He was standing up for every student who showed up in good faith and got smeared. But just when you thought The View might cool off, Sunny Hostin turned up the heat. She didn't stop at politics, she went personal. Right there at the table, she took aim at Trump supporters, specifically white women without college degrees, calling them out like their life choices made them dumb. It wasn't political commentary, it was a punch to the gut for millions watching. The implication? No degree, no brain. And that's when viewers snapped. People weren't just angry, they felt disrespected, talked down to, and dismissed. Because let's get real, you don't need a college diploma to have intelligence, values, or a voice.
We did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men actually voting more for him, and you have and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers. Maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last week.
Picture this. Sitting pretty in a luxury studio, sipping coffee, and casually throwing shade at millions of hardworking Americans. That's not courage. That's elitist swagger. And Charlie Kirk? He saw it for what it was. A golden moment of media arrogance. A law degree host mocking people who didn't take her path. People who grind every day, raise families, and actually run this country. The message was loud. No degree, no voice. And just like that, the outrage exploded. But Charlie didn't storm their stage. He went full power from his own zone. No awkward shouting match. Just a slick, savage video response that hit harder than anything they aired. Clean cuts, cinematic zooms, a score that felt like war drums. It wasn't a clapback. It was a media knockout.
Now we begin with a shocking apology just a short time ago from the ladies of The View to Turning Point USA. A war of words broke out after the conservative group was rallying the next generation of voters at its youth summit in Tampa, Florida this weekend.
This wasn't just a response. It was a digital hit job in high definition. Charlie's video didn't argue. It obliterated. Every line was a strike. Every frame built to humiliate Sunny Hostin. He didn't rebut her. He torched her takes and fed them to the internet. And the drop? Flawless. Just hours after The View aired, his video was everywhere. Twitter exploded, YouTube lit up, TikToks morphed into 15-second kill shots. While Sunny was still glowing under studio lights, Charlie hijacked the entire conversation from miles away. This wasn't a debate. It was a one-sided digital takedown fueled by speed, swagger, and ruthless precision. And the worst part for The View? He made her look defeated without ever showing up.
Turning Point Conference, they were in the front of out there in front of the conference with anti-Semitic slurs. And, the
just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. Or
this was never about truth. It was about who looked unshaken. And the second Charlie's video hit the web, Sunny Hostin's cool exterior cracked. The usual courtroom confidence, gone. Her tone dipped, her smile stiffened, and her body language screamed, "I'm spiraling." She wasn't flipping tables or shouting. This was worse. That silent unraveling where every blink, every glance screamed panic. Her eyes clung to the teleprompter like it was a lifeline. Her voice wavered and her face kept asking, "What just happened?" Online, nobody cared about the arguments anymore. They were locked in on Sunny's unraveling in slow motion. The blinking, the fidgeting, the sideways glances. It was no longer a battle of ideas. It was a spectacle of collapse, and the internet crowned Charlie the winner without a vote.
Welcome back. In Monday's conversation about Turning Point USA, I put the young people at the conference in the same category as the protesters outside. And I don't like it when people make assumptions about me, and it's not any better when I make assumptions about other people, which I did. So, my bad. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So, the state, the U.S.
Charlie Kirk didn't just shut down her argument, he shattered the whole persona. That polished, unshakable media mask cracked. And when a seasoned host like Sunny starts visibly glitching on live TV, the internet doesn't ask questions. It devours it. But then things got serious. Fast. After The View recklessly dragged Turning Point USA into the mud with insinuations, it wasn't just outrage. It was lawyer up mode. Tip USA fired back with a cease and desist, not a tap on the shoulder, a legal gut punch. The message was brutal. You don't get to defame 5,000 students and think the credits will just roll. And here's the kicker. These weren't elites. These were kids who scraped money together, paid for their own flights, drove cross-country on overpriced gas just to show up and hear ideas. And they got nationally slandered for it.
Well, on Monday, we talked about the fact that there were openly neo demonstrators outside the Florida Student Action Summit of the Turning Point USA group. We want to make clear that these demonstrators were gathered outside the event and that they were not invited or endorsed by Turning Point USA. A Turning Point USA spokesman said the group, quote, 100% condemns those ideologies.
Despite everything, thousands of teens and college students from across the country showed up to this conservative summit, not to riot, not to flash hate symbols, but to listen, learn, and stand for their beliefs. Instead of respect, they got branded as extremists, guilty by association with groups that weren't even at the event. Charlie Kirk was clear, those radicals weren't invited, and Turning Point didn't tolerate them. But The View didn't care. They slathered every attendee with the same toxic label. That lie stuck, and Kirk refused to stay silent. He called it exactly what it was, a cold, calculated smear campaign.
Her disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
If the media thought they could just throw wild accusations and shrug it off, they were dead wrong. Here's the real knockout. Sunny Hostin wasn't caught off guard. No surprise ambush, no shouting match, no chaotic on-set meltdown. It was just her, the camera, and the relentless replay of Charlie Kirk's viral takedown echoing everywhere online. Kirk didn't have to yell or even show his face. His razor-sharp, perfectly edited video landed blows far heavier than any live argument could. While The View stuck to their usual formula, a few digs, a scripted debate, then moving on, Kirk unleashed full-on scorched earth. He tore her elitism to shreds, shredded her entire worldview, and painted her as totally out of touch with everyday Americans.
How do you like the so-called uneducated now, Sonny?
Yeah, and again, by the way, rarely do you get the answer to a question in the question. And her whole question is exactly why there was a rebellion against them.
Yes.
Listen, just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom.
This video didn't just slam her views. It turned Sunny Hostin into the ultimate symbol of everything conservatives despise: media snobbery and elitism. The reaction? Instant chaos. The clip tore through every social feed, reaction channels exploded, and viewers watched her crack live online. The harsh truth? Once you become a meme, you lose all power. Sunny became a target overnight. Then the headlines hit hard. Savage and everywhere. TikTok and Reddit ran wild, dissecting every blink and forced smile, remixing her meltdown nonstop. Back on The View, the energy died. Conversations stalled. The audience didn't know whether to cheer or cringe. The damage wasn't just online. It was real and raw in the studio.
What I'm saying, though, what gives me promise, and I think we can all agree on this, is that there are other issues that should animate and drive our politics other than this very divisive one. And I was really encouraged by that, Megan. Very encouraged, because the media was forcing this as an up or down vote on a referendum on a highly complicated, very emotional, very personal issue. And it turned out the American people were like, yeah, actually, these other 6 things matter more.
You could practically feel the tension choking the screen. Sunny Hostin, usually cool and unflappable, was visibly unraveling live. No yelling, no storming off, just tiny cracks in her composure growing bigger by the second. Every sigh, every twitch betrayed her calm facade. Meanwhile, Charlie Kirk? He wasn't even in the studio. He was probably popping bottles somewhere, watching his digital knockouts spread like wildfire. He didn't need to confront her face to face. The internet had already crowned his takedown legendary. Kirk wasn't just going after her words. He demolished the entire polished image she represented. The degrees, the suits, the media training, all torn down like a house of cards. Then, he dropped another video, even more cinematic. Dramatic music, zoom-ins, slick graphics, like a political thriller trailer. The message was brutal and clear. People like Sunny don't speak for everyday Americans, and never have. The clip didn't just go viral, it exploded. Reaction channels went into overdrive. TikTokers turned it into sad violin remixes. Gen Z made dance memes out of her every blink and fidget. Her meltdown wasn't loud or messy. It was silent, real, impossible to fake. That's the kind of meltdown the internet feasts on. And then came the apology. Low-key, no tears, no press conference, just a quietly slipped statement admitting she judged those Turning Point students unfairly. Too little, too late. Outside the studio, conservative blogs called it a major win. Fans treated it like a Super Bowl victory. The memes, the reaction videos, the endless loops of her discomfort turned into internet gold. Even TikTok got involved, transforming her blinking into viral meme templates and remixes. It stopped being politics and became pure entertainment. Sunny Hostin, willingly or not, had become the star of a massive digital meltdown. Meanwhile, Charlie Kirk basked in the glow of his viral triumph. Traditional media scrambled to catch up with clarifications and corrections. But the internet had already moved on. Sunny became the cautionary tale of underestimating how savage and swift meme culture can be. She showed grace in her apology, but dignity doesn't go viral. Humiliation does. The real kicker? Kirk didn't win because of superior facts or logic. He won because he mastered the brutal new media game. It's no longer about reason or degrees. It's about who creates the most viral emotional moment. Kirk treated her like a Twitter trend, not a person. He shredded nuance, turned her into a symbol, and sent her hurtling through the algorithm like a firebomb. His video spread like wildfire. Fans made memes, GIFs, even t-shirts featuring her reaction face. Sunny? She was still stuck in a daytime talk show mindset, armed with legal jargon and calm analysis, while Kirk brought a full-on meme war. In 2025, the audience doesn't want calm debate. They crave drama and spectacle. Sunny learned that the hardest way possible, live on national TV, as the internet clipped her every blink into viral madness. It wasn't a fair fight. It wasn't even the same game. This was survival in a digital gladiator arena where only one thing matters: who gets the crowd roaring? And that crowd? They were cheering for blood. While Sunny scrambled to reclaim her image, every awkward glance and pause was disassembled and replayed by millions. The internet didn't just watch a meltdown, it created a legend. YouTube channels tore her apart like it was a crime scene. Every frame dissected, every blink scrutinized. What she actually said? Irrelevant. What everyone noticed was how utterly rattled she appeared. Welcome to the savage new reality of media. If you crack under pressure on camera, you don't just lose the argument, you become the story. And Sunny? She cracked hard. Charlie Kirk didn't even need to be in the room. No live showdown required. He unleashed a surgical digital hit. Cold, precise, and merciless. He obliterated her carefully crafted image of poise and intellect, and the internet made sure her meltdown was immortalized on endless repeat. For years, Sunny was the poster child for composed liberal commentary, but all that polished professionalism evaporated the moment her micro-expressions were weaponized in meme form. You could be right as rain, but if your face betrays you, the crowd doesn't care about facts. They feast on reactions. Her unraveling wasn't a one-time slip. It became an unstoppable meme machine, stuck in a never-ending loop of blinking and forced smiles. The damage? Permanent. The internet never forgets. It escalates and devours. Once a clip explodes, it doesn't just trend. It infects every corner of social media. Sunny Hostin's stumble morphed from a segment into pure content gold. TikTok creators, meme lords, reaction gurus swarmed like predators on a carcass. Circus tunes? Check. The blinking breakdown meme? Born. Even influencers clueless about politics suddenly turned pundits overnight. The joke grew so huge, people who missed the segment acted like they lived it. Meanwhile, Kirk kicked back, hands off the wheel, riding a tidal wave of viral chaos. No replies needed. His legion amplified the carnage, reposting, remixing, and flooding feeds. The View? They scrambled, scrambling to patch the hole with legal disclaimers and sanitize damage control. Then came the real collapse. The View's entire strategy was exposed as obsolete. For years, their formula was a simple script: calm delivery, intellectual jargon, and a polished veneer to placate viewers. That recipe? Burned to ashes. Sunny walked in armed with courtroom logic, only to be steamrolled by a savage meme war. Because chaos is king. Facts are yesterday's news. Kirk's response wasn't for the policy wonks or fact-checkers. It was crafted for virality. Sharp cuts, killer sound bites, visuals that stopped scrolling thumbs dead in their tracks. Meanwhile, The View acted like it was still 2015, expecting reasoned debate to save the day. Instead, they got annihilated. Bring thoughtful nuance to a meme battle, and you lose every time. Sunny's moment wasn't loud or explosive. It was a quiet, soul-crushing surrender. Because in the brutal digital arena, looking shaken is worse than being wrong. And she looked beyond rattled. Her eyes told the story. The flickers, the pauses, all caught and weaponized. In a lightning-fast media jungle, Sunny came armed with a textbook while Kirk brought a flamethrower and burned her legacy to ash. And here's the final blow. It wasn't just her image that cracked, the entire show's armor shattered. The View, a veteran of countless scandals and on-air blow-ups, suddenly looked fragile, exposed, and on the brink of collapse. They were blindsided, totally unprepared for the brutal new rules reshaping the game. This wasn't just another scandal, it was a full-scale digital assault. Charlie Kirk didn't merely slam Sunny's words, he invaded her entire brand, shredded her credibility, and handed the wreckage over to the internet for a relentless feeding frenzy. The cameras caught every second of it. The barely concealed strain in her voice, the frantic dart of her eyes, the stiff shift in her posture. It was like watching someone realize in real time on live TV that control had slipped through their fingers, and she fought it. You could see the effort, the tight jaw, the forced calm, the desperate attempt to keep it together while her face betrayed everything. That blinking, the stiff smile, the tiny cracks. She knew the viral storm had already landed, that clips were being sliced, memed, and weaponized as they aired. Backstage chaos, probably raging. On screen, she was frozen. No retort, no salvo, just the crushing weight of a million eyes turning every flicker of discomfort into viral ammunition. She didn't explode, she didn't lose it in a dramatic meltdown. But that quiet unraveling, that was the knockout punch. She walked into a talk show. Kirk turned it into a war zone. The cameras never blinked. She did, and that blink is now etched into internet infamy. Sunny Hostin's once impenetrable media fortress, sharp, respected, untouchable, now reduced to a looped montage of awkward glances and smirks, a heavyweight in daytime TV, trapped in an endless cycle of reaction memes blasted across every social feed. The kicker, she didn't fall because of her argument. She fell because of how it looked. Meanwhile, Kirk moved on, unfazed, like a mic drop moment he never bothered to pick back up. From his throne in the digital arena, he watched the fallout turn into a meme goldmine. Content creators, trolls, and clueless influencers all jumping on the bandwagon for clicks and chaos. Sunny might bounce back on traditional TV where forgiveness lingers longer. But on the internet, that's a different beast. Redemption stories don't trend here. The worst frame, the slowest blink, the awkwardest pause, that's what gets immortalized, remixed, and tattooed into culture. This battle wasn't just politics, it was the death of old media and the rise of ruthless new media. And the new era showed up armed with flamethrowers. What did you think of this digital showdown? Drop your hottest takes in the comments below. Stick around for the next explosive breakdown. You won't want to miss it.